We all know the rhyme, right? In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. We were taught this story in school. A brave Italian explorer boarded 3 small ships and sailed into the great unknown to prove the earth was round. He discovered a brand new continent, brought civilization to the New World, and cemented his name as one of the greatest heroes in human history. It's a great story. But there is a massive problem. Almost every single part of it is a bold-faced, bloody lie. Christopher Columbus wasn't trying to prove the earth was round, and he certainly didn't discover anything. The place he landed was already home to tens of millions of people. Behind the heroic portraits and the statues lies a dark, horrifying reality that history books have deliberately tried to hide. It is a story of insatiable greed, mass enslavement, brutal mutilation, and the beginning of one of the largest genocides in human history. In this video, we are going to tear the mask off this fake hero and look at what actually happened when Columbus stepped foot in the Americas. Stick with me as we uncover the history they desperately wanted to keep hidden. Let's start by destroying 2 of the biggest lies we were taught in school. Lie number 1. Columbus wanted to prove the earth was round. The truth is, by the 15th century, every educated person and sailor already knew the earth was a sphere. The ancient Greeks had proven this centuries before. Columbus's actual problem wasn't the shape of the earth, it was his terrible math. He foolishly calculated that the earth was much smaller than it actually is, leading him to believe he could easily sail straight to Asia. Lie number 2. Columbus discovered America. How exactly do you discover a place where tens of millions of people are already living? Long before Columbus arrived, the Americas were packed with complex civilizations, massive cities, advanced agricultural systems, and rich cultures. They weren't lost, and they didn't need to be found. Not to mention, Viking explorers led by Leif Erikson had already reached modern-day Canada 500 years before Columbus was even born. So why did Columbus's name stick? Because his voyage wasn't just a visit. It was the launchpad for a global plundering operation. So, what was the real motive behind this voyage? Was it the noble pursuit of science and exploration? Not even close. Columbus was a highly ambitious merchant and opportunist looking for spices and gold. He wanted to find a new, faster sea route to India and Asia to cash in on the incredibly lucrative spice trade. For years, he begged the royal courts of Europe to sponsor his crazy idea. Finally, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain agreed. If you want to know Columbus's true character, just look at the contract he demanded from the Spanish crown. He demanded to be named Admiral of the Ocean Sea, to be appointed the lifetime governor of any lands he found, and most importantly, he demanded a 10% cut of all the wealth, gold, silver, and pearls discovered in these new territories. This wasn't a voyage of discovery, it was a startup venture for legalized theft. When he finally hit land in the Bahamas in October 1492, he was so convinced he was in India that he called the locals Indians. A geographical mistake that has stuck around to this day. The people Columbus actually met were the Taíno. They were incredibly peaceful, generous, and entirely unarmed. When the Spanish ships arrived, the Taíno welcomed them with open arms. They swam out to the boats, brought the sailors food and water, and freely shared their belongings. But Columbus's mind was somewhere else entirely. On October 12, 1492, his very first day in the Americas, he wrote a terrifying entry in his personal journal. He observed the Taíno and wrote, "They do not bear arms, and do not know them. They are well built. With 50 men we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want." Instead of thanking them for their hospitality, Columbus immediately captured several Taíno no people by force. He wanted to take them back to Spain as specimens and interrogate them about where the gold was hidden. On day 1, the hero of our story officially kickstarted the transatlantic slave trade in the New World. When Columbus returned on his later voyages with an army and a fleet of heavily armed ships, hell literally broke loose. He had promised the king and queen rivers of gold, but the Caribbean wasn't exactly overflowing with it. To make good on his promise, he instituted a system of absolute terror. In the area that is now Haiti and the Dominican Republic, Columbus ordered every native person over the age of 14 to collect a specific quota of gold dust every 3 months. Those who met their impossible quota were given a copper token to wear around their necks. But what happened if you failed? Columbus's punishment was barbaric. The Spanish soldiers would cut off the natives' hands and leave them to bleed to death. To supplement his failing gold business, Columbus also captured thousands of natives and shipped them across the ocean to be sold in European slave markets. Countless people died in the suffocating cargo holds of his ships. But swords and whips weren't the only killers. The Europeans brought diseases like smallpox, measles, and the flu. The native immune systems had absolutely zero defense against these alien viruses. The deadly combination of slavery, starvation, massacres, and disease led to an apocalyptic population collapse. In just a few decades, the Taíno population plummeted from an estimated 3 million people to nearly zero. Total extinction. The Spanish priest Bartolomé de las Casas, who witnessed these events with his own eyes, wrote, "What we committed in the Indies stands out among the most unpardonable offenses ever committed against God and mankind." It might surprise you to know that Columbus was a monster even to his own people. As a governor, he was so tyrannical, paranoid, and brutal, frequently ordering the torture and execution of Spanish colonists for minor offenses, that the complaints eventually reached the Spanish crown. In the year 1500, the king sent a royal investigator to the Americas. The investigator was so horrified by the chaos, the rotting bodies, and the sheer cruelty of Columbus's rule that he immediately stripped him of his power, arrested him, and sent him back to Spain in heavy iron chains. Yes, the hero of your history textbooks was arrested for tyranny and incompetence in his own time. Though Columbus was eventually pardoned by the king, his reputation was ruined, and he died a few years later. Ironically, until his dying breath, he remained delusionally convinced he had reached the coast of Asia. He never even knew he had stumbled upon a new continent. In the end, the landmass wasn't even named after him, it was named America, after another explorer, Amerigo Vespucci. So, why do we still have a holiday named after him? Why are his statues sitting in the middle of our cities? The answer is simple. Centuries later, Western nations needed a foundational myth to justify their colonization and dominance over the globe. They took a brutal, slave, trading merchant and aggressively rebranded him into a symbol of bravery, progress, and manifest destiny to sanitize a very bloody history. But the truth, like blood on your hands, doesn't wash off that easily. The discovery of the Americas was a monumental leap forward for Europe. But for the indigenous people, it was the arrival of the apocalypse. So, what do you think? Knowing the horrific reality of his actions, should we still view Christopher Columbus as an important historical figure, or is he simply a war criminal that history treated too kindly? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll be reading them all. If this video changed the way you look at history, make sure to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the History of Us.